IRS, Peter. I sent her strong." "We'll just take a look around," said Peter to the check girl. "You'll have to check your weapons." "I'd rather go in naked. Sorry, not today. Weapons happen to be my business today. Come on, Beauregard." Man and dog started along the hallway warily. Beauregard said, "Any touch?" "Got a faint impression of alarm. Danger. Call out the guards." "I scent violence," said the dog, and the door at the end of the hallway opened and a big man stepped out. "What's going on here?" he demanded flatly. The check girl said, "He wouldn't check." The big man reached for his hip pocket. Peter said, "Take him high," and they plunged. Peter dove for the man's knees. Beauregard went in a three-stride lope like an accordion, folding and unfolding, and then arched in a long leap with his snarling fangs aimed at the man's throat. Man and dog hit him low and high before he could open his mouth, before he could free the snub pencil ray. There was a short scrabble that ended when Beauregard lifted the man's head and whammed it down hard against the floor. Weakly, the check girl finished her statement, "His weapons," and keeled over in a dead faint. Beauregard shook himself violently and worked his jaws, licking blood from his chops. Peter looked in through the open wall door opposite the check counter. The racket had not been noticed by the roomful of spacemen and riffraff. The babble of 100 tongues still went on amid the clink of glasses and the disturbing strains of Zanabian music. Smoke from 100 semi-noxious weeds lay in strata across the room, and at a table in the far corner 2 men faced one another, their expressions a mixed pair. One held heavily begrudged admiration as he paid off 500 weight of crystal cut in the legal tender of Xanabar to the other, whose expression was greedy self-confidence. One of His Excellency's peacekeepers presided over the exchange. Coldly he extracted a 50 weight from the pile and folded it into the signed and completed wager contract. For his own coffer he extracted a 5 weight and slipped it into his boot top. Peter Hawley and Beauregard passed on, went through the far door dragging their late adversary ignominiously by the heels. Amid the lessened publicity of the distant hall, Peter checked the man and shrugged. "He may live," he said coldly, "if he doesn't bleed to death." "You really ought to take him on the high side," said Beauregard plaintively. "All I've got is my teeth to grab with. They don't bleed so bad from the ankle." "They don't stay stopped that way, either," said Peter harshly. "You'd not be getting any praise from the chief for that sort of brutality." "If Xanabar weren't rotten to the core, we wouldn't be plowing through it in the first place. Now, let's get going." "Shouldn't you call for the rest of the crew?" "Not until I'm certain the girl's here. I'd hate to cut the citywide search for cold evidence." "She's here. I sent her." "Maybe it's past tense, Beauregard. Or maybe it's another woman." "Could be. But one thing, it is definitely terrestrial woman." The dog sniffed again. "You get anything?" "No more than before. It's close, and they're the same sort of impressions. Yet any woman would be frantic with fear and concern." Shh. Beauregard's sharp ears lifted instinctively at a distant sound not heard by the man. With a toss of his head, the dog folded one ear back, uncovering the inner shell. Like a sonic direction finder, Beauregard turned his head and listened. "Man," he finally said, with a low, growling voice. "Peter, there'll be hell to pay around here directly. He stumbled over our recent conquest." Let's get cutting." Peter started trying doors and peering in. The dog raced on ahead of the man, sniffing deep at the bottom of each. It was the dog that found the room. He called, "Here," and Peter raced forward just as the fellow on the stairs yelled something in his native tongue. Peter hit the door with the heel of his foot and slammed it open by splintering the door frame. The dog crouched low and poised. Peter slipped in and around, feeling for a light switch. From inside there was a voiceless whimper of fright, and from outside and below there came the pounding of several sets of heavy feet. Peter found the switch and flooded the room with light. The girl, whether she was Miss Vanessa Lewis or someone else, and kidnap-wise, it was still a terrestrial girl, lay trussed on the bed, a patch of surgical tape over her mouth. "Sorry," said Peter in a voice that he hoped was soothing. He reached, freed a corner of the tape, and ripped it off in a single swipe. The girl howled. Peter slapped her lightly. "Stop it," he commanded sharply. "Vanessa Lewis?" "Yes, but—" "Call out the Marines, Peter," snarled the dog. "No, Bo! Back!" Reluctantly the dog backed into the room. He crouched low, poised to spring, with his nose just beyond the doorframe. "4 of 'em," he whimpered pleadingly. "I can get 2." "Well, I can't get the other 2 unless I'm lucky," snapped Peter. "Don't be so eager to die for nothing, Beauregard." "All this calculation," grumbled the dog sourly. "I don't call it a loss if I get 2 for 1." "I call it a loss if I don't get 4 for nothing, or the whole damn empire of Xanabar for nothing, for that matter. We've a job to do, and it ain't dying until Miss Lewis is out of this glorious citadel." The girl looked from one to the other. They did not need any identification. They were their own bona fides. Only man, terrestrial man, had intelligent dogs to work beside him. Period. Question closed. Beauregard snarled at the door warningly, while Peter stripped surgical tape from wrists and ankles. Outside, someone called, "Come out, or we blast!" Beauregard snarled, "Come in, and we'll cut you to bits." The quick flash of a pencil ray flicked in a lance above the dog's nose. Beauregard snapped back as the lancet of light cut downward, then snapped forward for a quick look outside as the little pencil of danger flickered dark. "Careful, Bo." "You call the boys," snapped the dog. "I'll—" Something came twisting forward to hit the doorframe. It dropped just inside the door jamb. Beauregard leapt, snapped at the thing, and caught it in midair, snapped his head in a vicious shake, and sent it whirling back outside again before it could be identified. The dog sunfished and landed on all 4. Then the thing went off with a dull poof outside. There was a gentle flash of quick light that was smothered by a billow of smoke. Beauregard leapt into the cloud and disappeared. There was a hoarse shriek, and the mad scrabble of dog claws on the hard floor, the sound of a heavy thud, and the angry snarl of a dog with its teeth fastened into something soft. Then there was the fast patter of dog feet, and Beauregard came around the door on a dead run, sliding sideways to carom off the open door into safety just as a pencil ray flicked to follow him. "Got him," said the dog in a satisfied tone. "That's 1." He took his post by the doorframe again, the tip of his nose just outside. There was a consultation out there in the hallway, at which Beauregard called, "Make a wild rush for us." Miss Lewis said, "What are we going to do?" "Fight it out," said Peter. "They can't win so long as we're alive now. I've got my crew on its way in a dead run, and if we make enough noise some of His Excellency's peacemakers will